What an unbelievable episode. One of the, if not the, best single piece of Star Wars content since Revenge of the Sith. Without further delay, let's get into the video. We begin at the Henge on Cetos, where we can see the map broken after Baylan destroyed it. Hera has landed in the Ghost and steps out to scout the area, allowing Jason to emerge with Chopper when the coast is clear. She finds Huyang behind one of the stone pillars, holding Sabine's helmet, clearly very sad and feeling the effects of Ahsoka and Sabine's unexplained disappearance because they didn't stay together as he asked. Back in the world between worlds, Anakin and Ahsoka are standing there where we left them. They're having their banter like they would during the Clone Wars, with Anakin telling Ahsoka she looks old. Very similar to when Rex reunited with Snips and Rebels. He asks if she can remember what happened before explaining that she lost a fight. Badly. This triggers her memory and she can remember Baylan's skull. Anakin explains that she has the chance to live now, telling her that he will finish her training, to which she scoffs at. He tells her that one is never too old to learn, Snips, referring to even until his dying breath, he was still learning and came back to the light. Igniting his saber, he tells Ahsoka the choice is hers, live or die, which was just an insane moment at the time of watching. He's making her decide in the most intense way possible, in typical Anakin fashion. She replies that she won't fight him. I've heard that before. Anakin says, of course referring to when Luke said it to him in Return of the Jedi, as they clash sabers. On Cetos, Huyang is inspecting the map whilst Hera is scanning for some sign of Sabine or Ahsoka. Carson Tava interrupts to inform them that Senator Organa can only give them cover for so long. It was beautiful to get a reference to our princess, and she is staying true to Hera's words. Once a rebel, always a rebel. Jason gets his mum's attention, sensing something in the water. Chopper can't detect anything, but it's deeper than that, because we're getting more signs here of Jason's future, or destiny if you will. They focus and listen to the waves as the Force theme plays. We can hear the whizzing of the lightsabers. Jason hearing this really speaks to his huge potential with the Force, however Hera hearing it confuses me. Obviously everybody has the potential to use the Force, as Ahsoka explained earlier. However, Hera doesn't have the aptitude for something on that level. Perhaps Jason was able to share it with her with that mother and son connection. Knowing now that Ahsoka is out there somewhere, Hera rushes back to the Ghost as Carson stands there confused at what just occurred. We get a lovely Kanan mention here too, as Huyang explains to Carson that he was Jason's father, hence his abilities. Anakin does his signature behind the back move as he continues his duel with Ahsoka. She gets one up on him as she kicks him in the face, very samurai-like. He stands there with a grin creeping over his face as Snips tells him that he might not have much left to offer. He replies, I haven't taught you everything yet. He cuts the path she stands on and she begins to freefall and disappears into this purple looking haze. We see Ahsoka again where Anakin has transported them. However, this time she is far younger as a Padawan in the Clone Wars. Phase 1 clone troopers run past her as we hear Anakin's voice as he ignites his saber and appears in his Clone Wars armor. Ahsoka realizes where she is but fails to understand the lesson attached to it yet. Anakin tells her, that's your problem. As they continue their charge into battle, she transitions to a break in the Battle of Ryloth that appears as she observes the injured and dead clones. We can see they are a mix of plain white clones as well as ones with blue stripes, indicating they are a part of the 501st, serving Anakin Skywalker underneath Captain Rex. She sits down next to a clone with face bandages and holds his hand, very similar to when Captain Vaughn died. Ahsoka always viewed the clones as her friends. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe the track Burying the Dead plays here, which is the same music we hear at the end of the Clone Wars series, as Ahsoka buries the 33-second. Captain Rex makes his live-action debut in the distance, talking about the mission with Anakin and some Twi'leks. Ahsoka tells Anakin that they lost so many, and that it was her fault, blaming herself for everything. Anakin tells her that there's always a price to be paid, this is war. She is still placing the blame on herself, which is Anakin's lesson here. The primary event she blames herself for is Anakin's turn. However, that also extends to other areas, such as clones dying under her command. He tells her that as Jedi, it's their job to lead. Losing men is unfortunately a part of the job. Looking around, she says this isn't what she trained for, which Anakin emphasizes with, as he explains that when Obi-Wan trained him, they were keepers of the peace. However, they have had to adjust to the times with him teaching her to be a soldier. As Mace Windu told Chancellor Palpatine in Attack of the Clones prior to the Clone Wars, we are keepers of the peace, not soldiers. It is also very similar to when Ahsoka was reflecting with Rex at the end of the Clone Wars after Maul had been captured. As a Jedi, we were trained to be keepers of the peace, not soldiers, but all I've been since I was a Padawan was a soldier. Dwelling on what Anakin told her, she wonders if that's all she'll ever have to teach her Padawan one day. How to fight, rather than the ways of the Force and everything that goes along with it. Attempting to lighten the mood, Anakin asks her if she even wants a Padawan, as teaching isn't all it's cracked up to be. Ahsoka is infuriated at how he can joke at a time like this. He asks her what she wants. Does she want him to be more serious? Which she says she would prefer. Anakin explains that he is teaching her to lead, and the only way to survive is to fight, reiterating what he was conveying in the world between worlds, making her fight to live. She asks him what if she wants to stop fighting. Then you'll die, Anakin responds. A bit of a callback to what Vader told Ahsoka when she said she wouldn't leave him in Rebels. Explosions begin to hit the area as Anakin leads the clones back into the battle. We get this unbelievable shot that I don't think I'll ever get over. Just as he disappears in the fog, an explosion hits, making him visible this time. However, he is now Vader, only for a split second as he transforms back into Anakin. Vader leading the 501st into battle was literally Vader's fist, which was epic to see. There's definitely some meaning to the brief transition to Vader, which I'll explain a bit later in this video. Hera and Huyang are in the Ghost, along with the small squad of X-Wings still scouting the water, attempting to find some sign of their lost friends. Knowing Ahsoka is tenacious, they decide there is still a chance she is out there somewhere. Huyang tells Hera that Ahsoka's master shared that trait with her. Summarizing Anakin in one word, Huyang says he was intense. It's really cool getting other characters' views and assessments of Anakin. We're treated to another live-action Clone Wars scene. This time it was the Siege of Mandalore. Ahsoka is absolutely carving up Maul's band of Mandalorians, as we see members of the 332nd Division of the 501st Legion joining her. The 332nd were derived from the 501st for this battle in particular, so Ahsoka and Bo-Katan had troops. As Ahsoka was no longer a Jedi, Rex was promoted to commander, to lead them, however only temporarily as it turned out. Speaking of Rex, it was awesome to hear Tamura Morrison's voice as he tells Ahsoka they'll secure the perimeter. Anakin walks up behind Ahsoka, saying he doesn't remember this battle. This is because Anakin and Ahsoka had parted ways for the last time shortly prior to this battle, as she tells him. Whilst this battle was occurring, so too was the Battle of Coruscant, where Anakin killed Count Dooku and rescued the Chancellor alongside Obi-Wan. It looks intense, Anakin says, smiling proudly, telling Ahsoka she did well. You're a warrior now, as I trained you to be. Ahsoka wonders if that's all she is. Anakin tells her that within her is everything that he is. All his knowledge, just as he inherited knowledge from Obi-Wan, and Obi-Wan inherited knowledge from Qui-Gon. She is part of a legacy, and that is a concept that is so true, and I really love that it got mentioned here. However, this is where it starts to change, as Ahsoka begins to bring up his turn to the dark side, saying that he was more powerful and dangerous than anyone realized. Is that what this is about? He says. Still blaming herself for his turn, as well as not being able to get over her legacy being connected to Vader, she still hasn't learned, but she is about to. Anakin tells her, back to the beginning, as he faces away from her like he did in the World Between Worlds and at the beginning of his duel with Obi-Wan on Mustafar. He tells her that he gave her a choice, live or die, as he ignites his saber, but this time it was red, and he turns around to reveal his Sith eyes. I cannot believe we got Vader out of the suit. Shocked, Ahsoka can only reply, no, as Anakin says, incorrect, striking her two blades with strength drawn from the dark side. He really ramps it up here with some intense strikes, even holding her arm back behind her elbow, almost breaking it, before releasing her and kicking her back into the World Between Worlds. He comes storming through with that typical strut, as we get to see two more quick Vader transitions through lightning that I can only relate to Exegol. I believe the two different instances of Vader taking the place of Anakin in these different scenes shows Ahsoka that the darkness was always there, trying to relieve some of that guilt she's feeling at it being her fault. Anakin's voice, with the cyborg undertones of Vader's, tells her that she lacks conviction. My take on this is Baylan obviously has conviction in what he is doing, and that played a role in him winning. This triggers something inside Ahsoka as she begins to step up now. They connect their blades as they did in their duel in Rebels. The warrior in Ahsoka is coming to the forefront. She disarms Anakin and raises the blade to his face, where we can see the Sith eyes flash on her for a moment. I'm not sure if they were literally Sith eyes or just the light of Anakin's saber, however it was definitely deliberate and symbolic of them. Probably showing us that Anakin's legacy does reside in her, however she chooses to avoid the temptation of the dark side and live, throwing his saber away. This really mirrored Luke in Return of the Jedi. Also, if anyone genuinely believes Anakin defeated Ahsoka, just hold up a second, because that is obviously not true. He let her win in order to allow her to come to the conclusion by herself that she now wants to live. Backing up, Anakin loses the Sith eyes, showing the control and balance he now has. Pleased with Ahsoka's progress, he tells her that there is hope for her yet, as he disappears. Filoni loves to leave the audience wondering at what occurred and offer no definite explanation. I believe that was really Anakin and not just a Force vision or something along those lines, as this Anakin had specific memories that Ahsoka probably wasn't aware of. Her mirror image begins to merge into one, as the stars fall like droplets of water and she begins to be consumed by a large body of water. It's very symbolic of a baptism where the old Ahsoka, Ahsoka the Grey, the one who was haunted by her past and full of guilt, is now gone, and we now have Ahsoka the White, who chooses to live. One of the X-Wing pilots has dived into the water and retrieves Ahsoka. Ahsoka wakes up one rotation later, which is one full day in Earth time, without her headpiece on, and we got bored Ahsoka. Jason greets her and they embrace as she emerges from her Jedi shuttle, and you can tell there is a real aunt and nephew type relationship there. Huyang takes him off to the shuttle, where his enthusiasm to become a Jedi is overflowing, leaving Hera and Ahsoka to talk. Wanting to know what happened to Sabine, Ahsoka uses Force psychometry on the broken piece of the map, the ability made well known by Quinlan Vos and Cal Kestis. She can hear Baylan's skull manipulate Sabine by using what or who she wants against her, which is Ezra. Ahsoka and Hera have now established that Sabine was at least alive when she left Cetos on board the Eye of Sion. Attempting to formulate a plan on reaching Sabine and the enemy in this other galaxy, Ahsoka hears a noise as she looks to the sky and sees the Purgles. Hera is on board the Ghost with Carson Teva as they talk to Mon Mothma. She regretfully informs General Syndulla that the Senate Oversight Committee is going to decide whether or not to suspend her command permanently and to return to Coruscant immediately. Ahsoka enters as the call ends, telling Hera that she has a plan. The T-6 Jedi shuttle and Ghost take off through the clouds as the T-6 stops, coming face to face with the giant Purgle. Ahsoka exits the ship, standing on the outside, like she did in Episode 3, where she uses beast control, which we first saw in Tales of the Jedi. The New Republic enter the area, with Carson Teva attempting to stall them. Ahsoka is successful as the Purgle opens its mouth, inviting her T-6 Jedi shuttle in. We really get an insight into the new happy and hopeful Ahsoka when she tells Huyang that she is not certain that the Purgles will take them to Sabine, but going somewhere is better than going nowhere. The New Republic ships attempt evasive maneuvers as the sea of Purgles come out of Cetos, the crew amazed at what they are witnessing. This scene looks absolutely brilliant in live action, seeing the Purgles' tentacles begin to power up with electric blue rippling through them. Hera and Ahsoka say their goodbyes as the Purgles begin their hyperspace route to this other galaxy. I'm a huge fan of the theory where in Season 3 of The Mandalorian, where Grogu seems to be paying attention to the Purgles travelling next to him in Din Djarin in hyperspace, that he was actually sensing Ahsoka in her T-6 Jedi shuttle inside one of their mouths. Once again, what an unbelievable episode. As Star Wars fans at the moment, we are truly experiencing a very high peak, and I'm very grateful to Dave Filoni and the rest of the team for it. Now, if it's a crime to want more Anakin, then sue me, but I'd love to have seen a bit more of him, particularly directly discussing his turn to the dark side, and what really went wrong. The chemistry between Hayden and Ariana Greenblatt, who played young Ahsoka, was absolutely amazing, and could really be a foundation for further live action scenes if they went down that road. I know a lot of fans would be on board with this. The character of Jacen Syndulla was really cool in this episode. It was great seeing him show his ability with the Force, hopefully foreshadowing at what could come later in time. Next week, I think we'll get our first glimpses at Thrawn, and possibly even Ezra, which includes catching up with Sabine, Shin, Baylan, and Morgan. I cannot wait to see what this other galaxy looks like. This breakdown has by far taken the longest to complete out of all of them. There was just so much content in this episode, and I didn't want to skip over anything without discussing it and offering my opinion too. Until next time, may the Force be with you, always.